Life in High Definition. I'm Jennifer Moss. I've got Adam Thompson with me today. And today we are talking about when you get spring fever, how do you still garden in the cold and like starting new crops? And what are the things when you're just jonesing to get outside? Because we've kind of had, what should we call this, third spring over the last couple of weeks?
You're on third spring?
I
this
don't
is
know.
first spring.
Is this first spring?
Because it's February. This is first spring. For
Okay,
sure.
so we hit first
We
spring.
shouldn't have had
and then,
spring yet. But
And then we
did.
had like fourth winter yesterday for like a blitz.
Yep. So we're oscillating back and forth between those, which is the Idaho way. If you're not from here, but yeah.
Exactly. Well, and you know, my mom and I were driving and we're seeing some of the trees starting to swell, and we were concerned about what happens if it starts to freeze again and how much damage is that going to do? What does that do to fruit, farmers? And so it's definitely something that's front of mind. There's a whole global warming conversation that we can have on a different podcast. That's probably a little bit political and
I'll have to study a little more for that one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I'm down. We should have it. I would like to talk about that. But
that it's kind of interesting, and there's a whole bunch of research behind kind of the concept between the almanac and what it presents, whether it's a La El Nino or a La Nina here. Am I saying that right?
I think so.
I think so.
I am not a climatologist.
Yeah, it's not my strength, but there's more and more research coming out, but it is making a difference for all of the seafood life and everything else in the planet. So
it's worth a discussion.
It is definitely.
We'll schedule that out.
We'll schedule that out.
Put it in my notes.
Write that down. All right, so we are slowly transitioning into spring. This episode will probably come out in March, right?
Yeah,
Something like that.
Gonna March 12th.
So everybody's jonesing to get outside, and they're itching to get. So where do we start?
Well, first of all, my retail store opens on March 9th. So
let's start there.
Couple days before this podcast. Come get greenhouse therapy.
And watch our Facebook, because
there'll be full of plants.
There'll be a lot of new things and changes, and it's a whole new ball game.
Oh yes, it certainly is, and I'm not gonna.
We're not going to say any
divulge any secrets. I wanted my $10 word, divulge.
Divulge. That's the $10 word for the day.
It may be like a $7 word. Let's see what I can bust out later. So I'm freaking out. I went and drove some of my friends' garden accounts that I do on the side, because we have tulips coming up and daffodils outside of our sales office here. They're right up against the building, so they're a little warmer than normal.
It's a microclimate.
Yeah, and it's just exposure, and we have a basement too, so there's some heat that comes up, but they are like 4 inches tall, and it's terrifying me. I'm just like, because bulbs as a gardener it means go. It's like, we're here, we need to go. So I'm freaking out. I just have all this anxiety at home. Like work here, of course. It's just like
before Adam came to Moss, he was full-time landscaping too.
Yeah.
So this is the reason for the panic.
Yes.
And the freak out. So it's fitting.
Which I don't need. It's just like that historical.
Yeah. This is what your body does at this time. It goes.
As a gardener, you kind of develop this weird third 20th sense, I don't know what you want to call it, for the seasons. Like there's like always a day where the air is just this certain kind of crispy and the temperature's right, and it's just like, I should be pruning roses right now. Like, there's just these weird, my memory is situated there, so I have anxiety seeing bulbs come up is what I'm saying. There are crocus blooming, which is,
I know, and I saw hyacinth the other day.
You saw hyacinths? Like budded, probably?
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay. Bring it on. Anyway, so that's
all right.
Here's our segue.
We can do hard
We're going to talk about bulbs a little bit.
Okay.
I want to advise everyone right now, do not water your bulbs.
It's not necessary.
Do not water your bulbs. They have everything they need in the bulb. That's what it's for. Don't water them. You're much more likely to drown them.
And create mold and
and rot and fungus, all of the decay diseases that come with it.
Mother Nature take care of it.
Yes. So while we all have anxiety, it's actually still time to just wait. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, and I don't know if this is overhyped, maybe I'm
overthinking
misinformation spreading, but as I understand, I don't know bugs that well, but all the pollinators are bedded in the leaves and in their larval stages at this point. Don't clean up leaves, if anything, like leave the leaves, if you will.
You're giving
Give them a chance to hatch out and distribute. It's warm enough one could garden. I mean, I think is it 55 today out here? 51?
something silly.
It's 50.
Yeah.
Anyway, that to me is garden go time.
Also, these are not the bad bugs. These
No.
are all the bugs for the ecosystem. So when somebody's like, bugs, well, no, I definitely want to rake my leaves. Slow down. Slow down.
Yeah.
These are the butterflies. These are the, butterflies is a bad example. These are the ladybugs. These are the spiders. These are the things you actually need.
Yeah.
In whatever
I think the
capacity.
butterflies might be in that category. I'm not really sure all their life cycles.
Yeah, we are not entomologists.
But predatory wasps, I mean, beneficial insects all around, like things that your garden needs.
Yeah.
Protect them. We're really in the phase of humanity. We need to like start liking bugs. Sorry.
Well,
sorry.
the planet stops spinning if you don't have bugs.
Yeah.
They're a massive part of the ecosystem.
Yes. And that will address in our climate change discussion on
whatever future date we come up.
Yeah. Not in April or May. For sure.
Yeah, we'll be lucky if we can do podcasts in April and May, but by golly, audience, don't you worry, we will figure it out.
So I think that was really all on my soapbox for bulbs. And don't fertilize your bulbs. You start fertilizing your bulbs after they're done flowering. So like we're talking much later in the season, like beginning of May, even late April. So bulbs we'll talk about probably later on with Easter too, because it's kind of a big deal. But anyway, watch the bulbs. They kind of tell you when to go.
Would also say, and we get asked this a lot here at the greenhouse, oh, there's tulips blooming. Do you guys have any tulip bulbs? No. They're a fall bulb.
Yes.
You plant them in the fall. They have to go through a winter.
They do.
Now, if you see them in Costco, those lived in a fridge for 4 to 6 weeks before they were brought out to sprout.
Yep.
So that's kind of how that works. My mother and I were on a work trip a few weeks ago. We ended up at a large grower over on the West Coast. And we were at one of their 4 locations, and they had humongous fridges like the size of our greenhouses here, full of bulbs.
Yeah.
In pots.
Saw those pictures. It was really cool.
They're crazy. Yeah. And so as soon as they break soil, towers.
Like
and
2
towers.
Stories?
I think there were 3 or 4 stories. That was the azalea grower. That was crazy.
Oh, yeah.
But these bulbs, same concept. Yeah. I mean, they're stacking plants in humongous refrigerators.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. You know, if you bought a flower at Valentine's, send out a heart to anybody who's in horticulture or florists or any of the above, because they just worked their patootie off.
Yeah.
Same with Mother's Day for anybody who's.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like Christmas for retail. It's tremendously wonderful to service our customers, but it's kind of hell on earth when we go through that.
I'm glad we get to kind of skip Valentine's Day in our climate. So if we had 2 big holidays like that in the spring,
we already have Easter and Mother's Day. That's enough.
We're good. I'm gonna plug you publicly because you mentioned you might grow some tulips for retail. So I'm just gonna, say that here.
We are going to attempt that in 2025.
Maybe. It's a big maybe. Don't linger on my words. Just it's been on my list of things to talk to you and Ryan about.
You have a reefer in the back facility that you could do it.
Yeah.
So
I don't need much.
Do your research and start to shop in the summer.
I will do my research.
There you go.
And we'll talk in the fall. Answer. Okay. Deal. Thanks.
Done.
Boss.
Check.
All right.
I am access to yeses and nos. I give more nos than I give yeses often.
So we're not as organized and we're also lacking a person. So I'm just going to start working through my notes here.
That's great.
I wanted to talk about early season sowing and what you want to do in your garden. I think I've already talked about things you don't do.
Consumer word for sowing so that everybody knows what we're talking
planting seed.
Yes.
This to me, what the temperatures we're at.
It's spelled SOW.
Yes.
Just in case anybody's.
You reap what you sow.
Exactly.
Kind of you harvest things that you put in the ground.
Just like you don't spell cow, K-O-W, like I did in my...
That was hilarious.
So what happens when you're suffering burnout like me, which seems to be a theme all the time that we keep talking about, but be a business owner is so much fun. It's exhausting. You spell K-O-W for cow when you're talking to somebody in a public setting.
It was
Very
well
pleasant.
played.
And I got called out immediately.
I'm glad I caught it because it might have slipped. I was a little tornado yesterday too, so it could have slipped.
It was kind of funny.
But anyway, I'm getting really excited about lettuces because like
Okay.
Bryce and I did the farmers market, market gardening style of stuff, and I really learned through that experience like just how much you can kind of push what the seed packet actually says. And
Yeah.
I'm not advocating for this, follow the seed packet probably. But
Yes.
if you're a zone pusher, if you're a zone denier, experiment. And I think what you can experiment with this time of year is lettuces.
And lettuce is perfect this time of year to just seed and put in your window. You can put it outside if it's a nice sunny day.
Yeah.
It'll grow in these temperatures, no problem.
Yeah, I'd recommend honestly just sowing it directly outside and getting a little bit of a frost cover, even if that's just like
a milk carton,
some, again, popsicle sticks or just some twigs you found on the ground, anything, and then just to create a little bit of an air bubble. And then I've used new and old sheets because I've been desperate enough in a frost to have to use new sheets to cover my
I've done that too.
babies. I'm not proud, but
like, I guess I'm going to be doing laundry
tomorrow.
Set
of queen sheets. Yeah. No, I have a thing with soil. It scares me. I don't bring that stuff back inside. They were just forever, frost cloths after that. Anyway, lettuce grows extremely well in this temperature. I've carried lettuce into December with minimal protection from frost. It's resilient. And if you think about how it is in a fridge.
Cut it aggressively.
Oh, yeah. Don't hesitate.
Don't be afraid of your scissors.
Yeah.
Also, if it gets over 85 degrees, your lettuce will go bitter. So it's better to grow it when it's cold.
It's better to grow it now. And I think if you're doing what they call successive crops, right? Like 1 week, you wait 2 weeks, you replant, resow, you wait 2 weeks. You
constantly have lettuce.
You can get lettuce almost all year round if you're doing that correctly. There's just basically July and August in our climate where lettuce is kind of off limits. And okay, so I say that, but I'm a zone pusher. And if you shade your lettuce in those hot months, you can still get decent lettuce.
Yeah, you can.
It still has that bitter quality. It's not like grocery store sellable, but.
No, but there's some lettuces you want better. Like your mustard greens and your
arugula. I had an arugula salad the other day. It just hit the spot. I was like, spicy lettuce.
I like arugula with fruit.
We never grew arugula. My dad hated it, so it was like
arugula
off the schedule.
I feel like
we're not even going to talk about it.
Arugula is like a bougie lettuce.
Is it? I thought it was like a poor man's lettuce because that shit just grows. Like you cannot kill that stuff.
Well, I'm thinking like all the high end
bougie
ass restaurants that I've worked at, there was arugula on the menu.
Yeah.
And it'd be like with beef carpaccio or it'd be something that's more of a
$10 word.
It is a $10 word. Does anyone know what carpaccio is?
I'm 7, you're 10.
We're scoring. Yeah, we got 2 more after
this. We're
going
to plug some more in here somewhere. Oh, I've got another one. It's in my notes.
Ooh, we're going to start playing this game. $10 words. I like it. Okay, so $10 word carpaccio. Carpaccio is when you hammer something out, basically as flat as possible, and it's served raw.
Oh, I thought it was like salted, brined.
It can be. Okay. It depends.
Salami, right? Like stuff like that.
Yeah. You could have something cured. But
pressed.
Yeah, with salmon, you probably would want a cured salmon per, say, a beef carpaccio. We just took a really high end piece of beef and went out super thin, and that was it was seasoned the right way, and that you could eat it like that.
Did you like roll it up with the arugula or what?
It was just to cut and eat.
Oh.
Kind of thing, and it was.
How did this segue from arugula?
Arugula. The arugula was served with a beef carpaccio. that's where it went.
I got
Squirrel.
you. Yeah.
Okay, you just gotta let it happen.
That's why we have notes. Squirrel.
Yeah, I didn't bring notes for this one. I brought notes for the next one.
This was kind of my topic podcast, so we'll.
Well, and my husband and my mom and I were at dinner in Boise for a robotics state championship last weekend, and we're walking through the village in Eagle, and there's pansies and kale, and my husband, knowing nothing, mind you, that the deal is he deals with cabinets and I deal with flowers. He can take care of the grass. I refuse to learn to run the lawnmower. That's like a hard rule at my house. I will not learn how to do it. I refuse. He's tried to con me with headphones, beer on my own little cup holder. Like, no, I'm allergic to the mold that comes up with grass. I'm not doing it. So, with that said, where the hell was I going with this? Flowers.
Let me
Got it.
interrupt, squirrel. I'm totally picturing like a zombie apocalypse and a riding lawnmower is your only escape. And you're going to tell me you didn't bother to learn your whole life.
No, I've known it my whole adolescence.
It's like the same situation if you're like jumping into like a stick shift car. It's
yeah. You don't know how to drive that?
Maybe learn some new things, even though you don't have to use them.
When my parents built their house when I was 12, that's by the greenhouse, they had a 2.5-acre yard, and that was my chore.
Oh yeah, no. So, you're traumatized.
No, I'm traumatized. Yeah, so that's all it is. I know I can figure out about anything, and I can do it blindly by myself without instruction because I'm a stubborn ass cuss and I'm an independent boss bitch. But I refuse to learn how to use our John Deere nice riding lawnmower at my house just out of principle. Okay,
that's so fair, because then it'll be taken advantage of, right? That's how that works.
Then it'll be my chore.
You're perfectly capable. Anyway,
perfectly capable. But needless to say, he's going. Pansies. Why is there flowers? These aren't going to survive. And my mom and I just kind of laughed him off. We're like, no, everything that's planted here will be fine. Even if it snows a foot, all of this will be fine. So what are those things you can plant right now? So it comes down to what? Soil temperature, right?
Yeah.
And sunlight. You need enough sunlight to kind of balance it. But that's what you're playing with. Even if it snows, it helps the plants because it insulates and it waters.
And soil
it's soil temp.
For plants, like really warm. It really maintains at about 55 degrees.
It actually stays warmer than most of your air.
So my love of science, right? I accidentally designed an experiment. It's been kind of fun to watch it with pansies over the winter.
I could see you accidentally designing these.
See what?
Accidentally designing experiments.
Oh yeah, so it did. Here's how it goes. So to prove soil temperature for our audience. So I planted pansies in my flower beds, and they're on like a southeast exposure, not unlike our bulbs out here. So pretty warm, but like not the hottest part of a landscape, which I don't usually recommend for pansies, but I planted them in the fall for winter interest, right? And I did in the snow we got like 2 or 3 weeks ago, that little flush one. I had like 2 yellow pansies flowering at that time. Like cute as could be. And then so my accidental like experiment was that I also planted the same batch of pansies, half of them into a pot, a large like terracotta pot, about yay size. And they were doing pretty good all winter. They made it through those like sub-zero temperatures we had, and was that December? Yeah, like they made it through that winter hell. But now that it's warming up, they're getting rot because we've had enough moisture
that they haven't been able to have that moisture far enough.
So now, like, it's so weird because I would think this is when they would start to like push blooms and actually like bud out and grow and like pick up. But they're actually like,
because they're in a pot.
The ones in the pot are essentially drowning because there's no natural like water drainage or whatever. And there is drainage in the pot, but so I'm watching it, but
there's not enough heat to dry down the soil enough to get the moisture to remove itself.
Yes, exactly. So they're stuck in a swamp.
Yeah.
So there's that, but also I would have expected the winter to kill those pansies.
I would have too.
Than the ones in the bed. But like I said, they dealt with the sub-zero.
We haven't had a cold enough winter yet.
Oh, we did. I mean, we were down to -6 one of those nights.
Yeah, but not for a long enough period of time.
No, you're right.
So, and if there was any kind of snow on top of them, they were insulated.
I think there was.
Yeah. So if they were already covered in snow, they were insulated. That's why you didn't lose them. Well, but I mean, to that point, winter kill in perennials. A lot of people are like, oh, it got really, really cold this winter. That's why it died. That's not usually why it happens. It usually comes down to moisture.
Yeah.
It's usually on a mild, dry winter that you have winter kill on very tough perennials because they just don't have enough moisture source to get it through.
There is the occasional winter where you actually might be advised to get out and spot water some stuff.
Exactly. It doesn't happen a lot, but if you've got a dry winter where you're just not getting any moisture and everything's brown and cold, it's okay if you go dump some dog water out on the flower bed here and there. I mean, I don't know why you're not going to be creating snow in your house.
I actually was counting my blessings with the on and off winter we've had here because it's maintained just enough snow and moisture that I haven't had to water any of my like bonsai trees or containerize like nursery stock that's
Stuff in
just
your back.
fully exposed to the whole elements. You know, it's on my deck. So yeah, the winter has actually protected all of them and
Yep.
kept them just watered enough.
So you
And
don't
then the
have to worry
heat
about it.
has, you know, dried them out a little bit. Yeah, it's just been perfect, I have to say. For all of the climate
I
change discussion aside,
disagree.
like, it worked out.
There's not been enough snow for this little mountain person.
There has not been.
I am upset
I'm saying
about it
completely
to this day.
selfishly. I'm saying
Yeah.
completely for Adam Thompson alone.
For
This
Jennifer
winter
Moss,
worked
she is
out.
having an issue with the
I
lack of
know.
snow.
Yeah, and so are all my ski and board buddies. That's
Yep.
just kind of a
I'm
sad
itching.
deal.
I'm itching.
And
It's
the ski
okay.
resorts still charge the full price too. The poor things.
Especially if it's only
Ouch.
10% open.
Ouch.
They still charge you full price.
Love you guys. Thanks for
So
letting us ski there.
impressed. It's okay. It's fine. This is what we do for our activities.
Yeah.
Everybody has a hobby.
All right. So the groundhog, the ominous groundhog.
That is only right on average, statistically 38% of the time. All I'm saying.
Really?
Yep, looked it up.
Good
He's
to know.
statistically 38% accuracy.
Well,
So it's less than half. So what does that tell you? Are you going to listen to a freaking rodent?
Less than half doesn't cut it in anything.
Nothing.
So I don't know why it's tradition. It's just kind of a weird.
I just think of Bill Murray and he's way more entertaining. So
and actually, that's probably why we love it, because it makes us remember Bill Murray.
Exactly.
Not that we would ever forget the man, but
there's no way to forget Bill Murray ever, and he's still presently with us. So we're not implying that.
Yeah, but he is aging out, man.
He is. But
well.
Do you know what he does? He actually goes and crashes weddings and parties and stuff all the time in whatever city he's in.
That's awesome.
He the last one I watched, he crashed a house party. And I think you've seen these same videos. It's crazy. Like, he shows up and he just starts partying and everyone's like, it's fucking Bill Murray.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, and then he just
leaves.
And then he takes off. Like, he'll just pop into hotels. He'll go all sorts of, he'll be walking down the street and be like, that looks fun. Everybody knows who I am. Just walks right in. So Bill Murray crashes things all the time. So, you know, your Groundhog Day reference is kind of fun, but great homework for those children listening. Of course, I dropped an F-bomb in there, but go watch Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. It's absolutely entertaining.
Is it child appropriate?
Okay, it depends on what kind of a parent you are. I am a parent who allows things because if I can control them watching it with me, I'm creating a bridge of trust and am exposing it to them in a controlled environment. So that's my perspective as a parent. Like but each parent has teach their own. Segue to children at this point. What do you're usually this time of year, we're cusping up on spring break. We're trying to figure out what the hell we're going to do with our kids for a solid week while the rest of the world goes on, even though their teachers get a break. Now, God knows you need a break because you're already saints educating my children. So that said, how do we keep them busy? A great thing to do during spring break is garden chores. Like, by that time, there might be some spots in the yard that you would like them to rake some leaves. You might want them amending soil. You might want them opening things up and tilling things up. If they're being a pain in your rear, give them a shovel and have them go start to poke holes and break things up.
Do rake the leaves off your lawn because you will suffocate it if you have not done that.
Yes, you should do that.
You might already be screwed,
run a lawnmower over the top of it and just get them all
on
up.
a dry
I've done
day,
that.
like right after a wind too. That's nice. Let it dry out a little bit.
We're not good at raking. We're really good at lawn mowing. That's the lazy man's way to do it at my house.
I have had before accounts where we take the leaf blower and blow the leaves out of the bed into the lawn, mow it up.
Yep, that's exactly how you do it.
It's like a little bit of soil erosion going on there. I'm not proud of it, but
fine.
For billable hours, it works.
It's the fast way to do it. So
there's
a ton of stuff you can plant right now. There's a ton of stuff you could sow right now. You can get dirty while it's still cold out.
The soil is too wet to mess with much.
That's true.
You would have to be gardening like after like a crazy windy day like we had this weekend, you know. Was the soil dries out, you can work with it. But I was going to ask you when you said 38%. Placebo effect is like 42%.
So it's less than.
So if you were following your intuition, do you think it's going to be an early or a late spring?
It's early. It's early.
Fair enough.
It's statistically early. You can show it with science, not statistics of
a groundhog.
a varmint. He's a varmint.
Okay. Yeah.
He's a ground
Being.
hog. Yes, they're drunk guys in top hats. Groundhog Day.
Oh yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute, but no, my gut is telling me without question it's gonna be warm.
Okay.
Everything is tracking warm. The storm tracks are inconsistent at best, and will you give him the "I'm only gonna be less than 5 minutes" signal to Brandon? And okay, so it's tracking warm. All of the grass and weather is telling us that. The plants in the greenhouse are telling me that. Everything is tracking. And I would say, like, comparatively to last year, we're probably 3 to 4 weeks ahead, but it might be closer to 2.5 to 3 weeks. But that's kind of what I'm watching now. From the horticulture side of things, if I'm looking at the calendar year ahead of me, I'm not going to know what Mother Nature's going to do, right? I could look at my crystal ball all damn day, but what do I historically know? I historically know that wherever Easter falls dictates when people start buying plants.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the nature of the beast. We have a slightly early Easter because it is in March this year. It is the very solely last day of March, but it is in March regardless. And so that means planting starts early.
Yep.
So,
and I agree. That's what I'm going to do my whole spiel about what vegetables to, you know what, just buy a little too much seed because they're $1 a packet or, $2 a packet.
They're stupid cheap.
But spinach, onions, peas, carrots, asparagus, radish, turnips, parsnips, and also garlic bulbs can all, as far as I'm concerned,
be planted.
I'm not a professional, can be planted right now. Just sow them, see what comes up. You're not going to get like a perfectly, flush row, but some of it will germinate. Some of it'll hold on. Some of it'll die.
What dream of a gardener?
What's that?
Seed tape.
That's fair.
Seed tape is a dream. We do not carry seed tape, but if you see it in the store, what seed tape is. So on those crops where it says put a 1/2 inch apart, 1.5 centimeters deep, yada, yada. Because it's very specific instructions on your seed packet, which is fine. But seed tape literally takes those seeds and it is a piece of tape that you plant straight in a row and they're exactly spaced.
Which is carrots and beets. If you were planting carrots and beets, get the seed tape.
You could also do it with, I think they have it with carrots, with radishes. You said carrots. Radishes, beets. Any of those root style.
Yeah. Radishes, it's less important. They can really crowd out and still
they
get
can,
kind
but
of
carrots
robust.
Can't.
Beets won't. If you plant them too close, you just get a bunch of baby beets or a bunch of baby carrots.
Oh, and I am
that for those.
If somebody is anti-beet, I will challenge you.
Gold beets.
I'm really good at sneaking beets into my family's food, and they have no idea because I don't do red beets. I do golden beets.
Yeah.
Gold beets are delicious.
It's a sweet potato.
But I love
carrot.
how I surprised you the other day with watermelon radish.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that
was beautiful.
We were at a dinner somewhere. I can't even remember where we were at, and watermelon radishes they're like light green on the outside, almost white.
Yeah.
And they have like pink tie-dye, like bled out through the center. It looks like one of those dyed orchids where they've injected the ink into the petal kind of thing. And watermelon radishes are one of my favorite kind of radishes. They're a little bit milder. They're really pretty on a plate. They don't have the same flavor profile as a traditional radish, so they're not that spicy.
That's what a lot of people don't like.
Exactly. But they're fall radish. Yeah. So I found them the other day at Natural Grocers. I could find them. So, and that's a local store for us now, which is tremendous. But you could possibly find them at an Albertsons or Fred Meyer, like a higher end produce section too.
And I might possibly have seed for them in my retail store.
Yes, they're one of my favorite radishes.
I haven't checked closely enough.
The thing why I think they're a fall radish is because they traditionally get fatter and they do better in cooler weather. Yeah. Whereas a spring radish is just like kind of a quicker finish.
To get hot.
Yeah, and they have that heat range at the end. And so that's why you might call it a fall radish. But if you planted it earlier, you're still at the mercy of Mother Nature, and it all comes down to soil temp about when the seed is going to germinate. However, you have a better chance of getting that big bulky radish if you're working with a variety that's designed to get big and bulky.
Yeah. Well, honestly, if you're an avid gardener, I would challenge anybody to do all those crops I just mentioned: spinach, onions, carrots, radishes. The cold lovers, they should all be spring and fall. You should be.
You could do two crops.
The temperatures are basically inverse of each other. Like it's the opposite, but another time of the year. And I also need to throw in my $10 word, the brassicas.
Ah,
Those.
yes, that is your $10 word.
Okay.
Add $10 to yours.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna have to
17
get a
to
scorecard
10.
up on
You
the
have
wall.
like 2 minutes to throw in another one, but we can leak this over to the next podcast.
Yeah, we can.
We're not totally filming all our podcasts today. Anyway.
We are going to work too as well, guys, to do a Q&A live in the greenhouse at one point, and we might do one we're playing with when we're going to do it because we can't be into the thick of it when we're doing it. And it might be an early morning podcast that we just do before the store opens. I don't know, but there'll be a submission online and this, that, and the other. So we'll guide you when we get a little bit closer to that.
First of all, the brassicas are...
Yeah, we should explain the $10 word.
Broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kohlrabi, kale.
What
am I missing? Cabbage, which are, by the way, all the same species.
Yep.
That's what genetic modification can do. But this is not with gene technology. This is selective over hundreds of years.
This is cross-pollination in your own garden.
These things love the cold. You should have these in your spring and your fall garden.
And when we say genetic modification, I want to explain it this way. Humans have not been genetically modified, but I'm a European mutt. So I'm the version of brassicas hundreds of years later.
The environment genetically modified us.
Correct.
Whether or not we like that.
Exactly.
And we did the same thing to vegetables.
Absolutely. So vegetables have been cross-pollinated over years you're basically taking characteristics from one and characteristics of another, and it's merging the gene pairs till whichever one becomes dominant. And so whether you wanted disease resistance, if you wanted high yield, if you wanted a round curvy top, if you wanted a serrated leaf, I mean, it could be anything like that.
An opposite colored radish that's really beautiful and named after watermelons.
Exactly.
But and then we'll maybe have a podcast about that too.
I never really connected that. That's really funny that you just said that out loud and my brain just put it together.
What?
Wow. Watermelon. It's green on the outside, pink on the inside. That is what happens when you work in a greenhouse.
You still think about some of these things.
I'm like, wow,
Jen, let's do it. Let's have if we're going to get controversial about climate change, we could probably start talking about GMOs versus GEOs because genetically engineered organisms.
I am actually extremely versed on GMOs. So
yeah, I know you have to be because
I speak on it,
and I have to be because we have to answer those questions to the public face.
Well, and
about
for those who are
ethical?
GMO
What's
sensitive,
my problem?
Here is the word I want you to go Google and scare the living shit out of yourself. It's called mutagenesis. And it is the concept of taking a plant or seed and bombarding it with gamma rays. So that's nuclear energy or carcinogenics to create a beneficial mutation. Yep. And there's over 1,200 different items in your produce department today created that way. And it is not regulated at all. If you've ever eaten a ruby red grapefruit, that is how it's created. So GMOs might not be the thing you want to attack. All I'm saying is education is important, but out of feelings versus facts, feelings always win. And people don't understand GMO, so they're fearful, and so it's scary.
Solve your fears with information.
Facts.
Period.
But at the end of the day, no scientist or engineer cares to fight with I'm going to pick on my own gender, angry white women yelling at them on a microphone at Greenpeace or Whole Foods. So, if you just get all of that out on the table, I started GMO research because I was asked to give a talk, and I was anti-GMO because I just moved from Portland. So I drank the Kool-Aid of
too hippie for your own good.
For my own good, absolutely. I've been called a hippie a couple of times today.
This is your chance for a $10 word. Just saying.
So I did my homework. I educated myself, and I started to figure out that the nice way to say GMO is biotechnology. Yeah. Which is way more interesting. And there is. So think of it this way. If we crossbreed
Don't get
my
too
dog,
deep here.
Anyways, we're going to do a GMO. I was like, we can talk about golden doodles. We can talk about watermelon radishes. I mean, you're seeing it every single day. But there's a bunch of technology into genetics that is really pretty cool.
Yeah. But it's hard to understand.
It is very hard.
Surrounded in fear.
Yep.
Period.
Because we are scared of anything we don't understand. Yes. Hey, guess what? you're not scared of politicians and you're not doing your homework there. So,
whoa, super.
sorry. I got in a political corner the
Okay.
other day and I was like, okay, I'm neutral. Call me Switzerland. I do not want to participate. And I didn't agree or disagree with any party. I just didn't want to be included.
Yeah.
Just leave me out.
Switzerland. I like that.
So Switzerland.
Yeah.
Make me Switzerland.
Going back to your Q&A, I do have a couple of Q&As scheduled for myself in retail.
Perfect.
They will be on Wednesdays. Once retail opens on March 9th, I will have a calendar that I'll release that will highlight all my class schedules.
We'll have that on the website.
There are
too.
intermittent, yes, Facebook. So follow us on social media. That's where I'm going to be doing all of my
There's a ton, guys.
information
It's going to be a
releasing.
completely different
But-
store, completely different company.
Yeah. So
Pretty
classes
excited.
every Wednesday, and probably once a month I'll have just an open class that's a come ask me whatever the hell you want. And if I don't know, I'll point you in the right direction at best.
Yeah.
So anyway, don't go too crazy this spring. I wrote at the bottom of my notes, when in doubt, wait. That is kind of the theme of this year. In a month, it'll be when in doubt, plant. So
Yeah.
don't quote me on that forever through the whole season, but
And
that's-
my homework for the day is pick a lettuce you haven't tried.
yeah, there's like
And you can do it at the store
So
instead
many-
of giving it garden space if that makes you feel better. Good example is I love butter lettuce. But
Yeah, know,
I
me
have a
too.
really hard time buying heads of butter lettuce, but I have found at Fred Meyer they have red small leaf butter lettuce. And so
Mhm.
I buy 2 or 3 things every week or 2, and my kids couldn't find salad in the because I have one daughter who's a nerd and she takes a salad to school every day, and that's fine. She couldn't find lettuce or couldn't find a cut salad, and so she went for that lettuce and was like, "Holy crap, this is really good."
Hmm.
I'm like, "Yep, just gotta
Yeah.
try it. It's a different color.
lettuce game
it's
is
like red,
unreal.
purple."
Shopping for lettuce seed is the most daunting thing you could
Because
maybe ever
there's
get
so
into.
many things.
It is intense. Just do,
Okay,
yeah,
so
have fun.
homework: try new lettuce,
Yeah,
whether
I
that's
agree.
in store or in seed pack. Don't
I
care.
will try new lettuce for you guys.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to invite you to go live life in high color. How do I say the exit?
Yes.
We want you to live life in full color because plain is pretty boring. I apologize. Burnout is real today, guys. And if you like this episode or any of the other ones, feel free to share it on any platform. We are in all the places that matter that you get your podcasts. And with that, have a lovely March day.
Cheers, guys. Happy March.